Hey, Chris.
Yeah, Fred.
What's a Mason?
That's a really good question, Fred.
You've reached the internet's home for all things masonry. Join Chris and I as we plumb the depths of our ancient craft. From the common gavel to the trowel, nothing is off the table. So grab your tools and let's get to work. This is On the Level. There it is, the rebel yell. The rebel yell. Oh my gosh, we are back.
Hey.
We are back. Wow.
So I got to tell you.
All right, I'm listening.
I was having a conversation with a brother named Michael Manning.
Michael Manning.
You know him. He's from a little bit north of us.
Okay.
Involved in the Scottish Rite.
Oh, Michael. Yeah.
Big beard.
Yeah.
Cuban guy. Actually, if you close your eyes, you think you're talking to Doug Dobbs. They sound very similar.
Right.
And so I saw him calling, and I picked up the phone, and he goes, "Ah!" And I said, "Are you all right?" And he's like, "I'm trying to do the Chris scream." I'm like,
doing the rebel yell.
That? No. It's yeah. And he was like, "That's it.
That's it, baby."
Come on. You got to get your impersonations down, guys."
Now, I got to say, Michael, that was probably the best shout-out we've ever done.
Yeah, it was
Way to
pretty
go,
cool, man.
bro. Way to go.
We have to have him on the podcast. He's
Absolutely.
actually, he teaches firefighters, so he's got a great
Oh, that'd be fun.
presence and speaking voice.
Nice.
Sorry.
No, hey.
Rabbit trailed you right out of the gate.
I don't know, man. I'm a little excited this morning. Maybe because I probably got a decent night's sleep. I don't know, but
What's that like?
Yeah, what's that like, right?
About 5 hours last night.
Sleep when you're dead, baby. But yeah, I'm feeling encouraged. I'm feeling strong.
Good for you.
Yeah, man. Listen, guys. Who's more blessed than we are? I mean, if you look at around the world, man, current events right now, and there are people in this world who are just flat out suffering.
We should talk about it, I guess.
A little bit.
Everyone else is.
Well, we could talk about it a little bit.
Not
don't
a whole podcast on politics.
Not on politics, especially current politics. What a drag. But we're blessed. We are kings comparative to the rest of the world, especially right now. With what's going on in all of these hot spots, man, that are going on. And everyone has their opinion.
We were just talking about it before the show.
Yeah, about this, that, and the other. But at the end of the day, I'm always turned towards, but what about all the women and children who live in these places, man? What about them?
Yeah.
We can talk about soldiers. We can talk about terrorists and armies and billions and billions of dollars, this and that. But at the end of the day, man, it's always the women and children that end up dying.
Yeah.
Afghanistan, 275,000 women and children, lost. In Syria, it was almost 300,000 civilians. Come on, man. I mean, that's where I go. So when I see these things happen, where these great men of political favor start fighting with each other and killing each other, we like to think it's a technical war out there, but it's not. These long drug out things that go on, they kill innocent women and children. That's what happens.
You're right. And the average American, honestly, we haven't seen war.
We have not seen war.
No living person listening to this has seen war on the scale that you're talking about.
Right.
I mean, we have people that have served in the military that certainly, I'm sure, have seen some nasty stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're not the average American. They're the exceptions.
Yeah, that's right.
And they are exceptional, and they are exceptions to this. The average American just doesn't see the violence of war and how horrible it is. And just inhuman it really is to everyone involved.
And if you think about it, most of the people in these lands, they don't have access to the information that we have access to.
Yeah,
so not only are they losing everything they have and losing their lives, they don't even know why.
They're being lied to.
They're lied to.
They're doing it for false reasons, probably, a lot of times.
And from all sides. I don't care what political persuasion you happen to be from.
We have no war here in our country, and it's like you're at war to try to get actual information.
Yeah, right.
Because
yeah,
everyone wants to feed you their line of shtick instead of give you the info.
It's tough. I know. I spend a lot of time on alternative media sites trying to get.
That's called pornography. You don't want to be there.
I don't do pornography.
Oh, well, okay. I just heard alternative media.
Alternative. Oh, is that what they call it now? Is that what they're calling it now?
Probably.
Oh my gosh.
Fred doesn't do porn.
I do not do porn. No.
Yeah. He's a good, upstanding citizen.
Well, no, I don't do it because, in my opinion, it's an insult to my wife. But
There you go.
It insults
We
her.
should. I can't wait to talk to your wife someday.
Oh, yeah.
I can't wait to interview her.
Well, it's going to happen. Speaking
What?
of that, yeah, that's right.
Say.
Ladies and gentlemen, let us be the first to announce, well, who else would announce it,
Yeah.
that we have an interview coming up with our wives. So
Oh,
the
man.
4 of us
Oh, wow.
are going to sit down over drinks.
Is anything? Can we give them like, hey, don't tell them about this?
Nope.
Or, okay,
Nope.
It's got to be
There's
totally
no
open.
coaching. It's
Damn it.
no holes barred.
Wow. Okay.
Yep.
Wow.
We are going to just.
So our
it's-
last podcast will be on.
Will be on.
No, I'm actually curious. You know, I have asked my wife.
Yep,
She
me
was
too.
quite hesitant with the idea. But I said, you don't have to know anything. No one's you don't have to be prepped. This is just going to be, we want to find out what your life is like.
That's
being
right.
part of this thing.
Yes.
With no prep.
Zany
She's like, no
hijinks
prep.
are encouraged.
I'm like, yeah, you can curse. You know, we can edit this stuff. Just be yourself. Forget there's a mic there. We're just having a
We're
conversation.
going to have a good
talk
time.
about
That's
it.
right. It's going to be fun. And
She's in.
we're going to try to get to kind of like the wife's perspective of what it's like to be married to a Mason
The good.
who spends more time with Masonry than with them.
Yep. Yep. That's a true story.
That true story, that's going to come out. It'll be a lot of fun. Anyways, that was a rabbit trail that changed our current event,
Yeah.
downer talk,
Yeah.
to this. But,
Jeez.
from On the Level with Fred and Chris, we do send prayers and thoughts out to anybody out there, who's suffering under this current madness
It will
that we've got going on
a
here.
lot of suffering and death.
And and I would just encourage you as a Mason brother, be slow to speak on this, and quick to listen to other people. Don't throw everything that you think you know about it out there. I'm certainly not doing that, and I know Chris isn't either. Be slow. Be quick to care about human beings and about their needs, and about the people who have no weaponry. They have no voice. They have no influence. They woke up one day and their neighbor's house was blown up and people died, and they're now being told that they have to leave and that kind of thing. Let's think about it. Let's try. I would encourage everyone to try to think about it from that perspective, and hopefully it'll change the way we deal with each other on these issues. But we got a long way to go on that one, brothers.
Yeah, I mean, I have removed a lot of people online that
Yeah, me
tend to
too.
be inflammatory in their speaking.
Right.
I don't care what side they're on.
That's right.
So I'm impressed with myself because my feed's not blowing up with a lot of hate and
Nice.
weird stuff right now.
Huh.
It's, I mean, obviously people talk about, and they should talk about what's going on. I
Absolutely. We
understand.
should be informed.
Yes.
But we should be informed with the
whole,
facts, not
yeah.
with emotion.
And calling for, really bad, evil stuff to counteract bad, evil stuff is,
Yeah.
it gets dicey.
And it all it does is feed
Think
the
it,
uniparty.
if you have to, but you don't have to say it on the internet to everybody.
Right, that's
As
right.
a Mason, maybe
Yeah.
that's not a best idea.
Well, and if you're calling out entire people groups in some pejorative way, then
Yeah,
you're just wrong. Your method is wrong. Your message might have some validity in it, but your messaging is completely wrong, and it's always going to be wrong to take an entire people group and classify them,
You're saying
into one group.
Don't call all Palestinians Hamas, basically.
Right. There is a difference between the Palestinian mom and dad, who are just trying to make ends meet, and the evil organization known as Hamas. There's a difference.
Yeah.
And educate yourself on that. Take a look at what that means.
They're talking about nuclear weapons in Israel right
They're
now.
always talking about nuclear weapons. This is always the big bugaboo. I don't think
That is a big bugaboo for all of us.
It's a big bugaboo. I think that there are radicals in this world who do want to burn it all down, like the Joker,
That's scary.
But generally speaking, the grifters in the uniparty, they want to scare the golden goose, but they don't want to kill the golden goose. And generally speaking, that's the way it works. Kings and queens and all of the highfalutin uniparty people, they know how to keep this thing going. And nuclear war is a quick stop to poverty for all, including them. So I would say that they use it as a tool to keep people afraid and scared. But I still am of the belief that we are not going to see any kind of nuclear action in our lifetime, if ever, in my opinion.
From your lips to,
God's ear?
Yes, please.
Yes, Lord, let it be.
All right, aliens come. We need your help. Now's the time.
Here we go. The alien talk.
To
it's
us.
only a matter of time.
Aliens,
before
save
aliens are put into the situation.
No, sorry, ancient aliens.
Ancient aliens.
They're the best kind.
That's right. So I thought I'd bring up a little topic. This is not a rabbit hole. This is an official topic.
Okay, but it better be a little topic.
All right, little topic before we get back to the etiquette book, which we are in. This is number 2 of the etiquette book series that we're doing currently. But so the question I want to pose to you, brother, is
me?
Yes.
Oh no.
How would one man who's in charge of a not-for-profit organization get those men in the organization to follow his vision? What is an adequate or good way that one might achieve getting these men who are in a volunteer organization? They don't get paid. They don't have to be there. They want to be there. And you have a strong vision. You have something that you really want to accomplish, man. You want to get it done.
Mm-hmm.
How do you do that without scaring them all off or making them mad and making them go home and ruining the whole thing in the beginning? How is that done? Just hypothetically, of course.
Impossible. Cannot be done.
Cannot be done.
I think our listeners probably all of them have answers to that question. I bet they do.
Absolutely.
And I think you have answers to that question.
Yes, I'm
My
being coy.
answer is, personally, because I just am wrapping up a year as basically the president of a not-for-profit organization in the situation you just talked about. I'm not saying that I succeeded or
I'm saying failed, he did.
But I have some experience in this. And for me, the way was to meet early with as many people as openly as possible and not talk about my vision at all.
Right.
That was the way to do it.
Right.
Because amazingly, your vision is their vision. So when you start asking people what's important, you'll be amazed how quickly your thoughts come out of their mouth.
Right.
And all of a sudden, it's their idea.
That's profound.
Not your idea.
That's really profound because really we do all want the same thing.
We do. And the message is different when you ask what's important to you versus me saying this is what's important to me.
Right.
It's different. It just is different.
Yeah, right. Why wasn't I consulted on this?
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, yeah.
You don't ever want to hear that from anybody,
You got to show up. You got to show up. You can't show up sporadically and then get upset if you don't know everything. That's your fault, not the other people's
fault. That's right. And the assumption that, you are owed all the information that is currently at hand is a bad assumption because no one knows all the information. We don't know. Some people have a vision to do something and they're in a small group of men together and they were like, yeah, that's a great idea, brother. Let's give that a try. And the brother takes off on it and does it and everyone's excited about it. But then one person is like, well, this is interfering with my thing. And it's like, well, we had a meeting and, it's like the assumption is that everything that I want to do should be taken seriously over and against everything you want to do that should be taken seriously. And I think your approach is the best approach.
Is that your approach?
You
had a thought in your mind when you posed the question. I'm curious to hear your answer to your own question.
Well, I knew where you were going to go.
Okay.
Because I agree with you 100%.
You used me.
Yes, I did.
To say your idea. Look at your genius.
I'm not done using you, sir.
And I like it.
Don't go there.
Okay.
So I knew you would go there because I've followed you and I've seen the way you did it, and it is profound in that generally speaking, Masonry in a lodge environment where you got a lot of guys, a lot of egos, a lot of ideas.
Yeah.
Everybody generally wants the same thing. We want to see the lodge prosper.
Yes.
We want to make new Masons. We want to better ourselves. We want to better our community. We want to have fun.
Yeah.
We want to enjoy ourselves. Generally speaking, everybody wants that. By coming to individuals and or small groups and saying, hey, what do you guys see in the future? What would you like to do? What is your good, your bad, your ugly? Where are you at with all this? Mm-hmm. And then you just moving forward with the general consensus that at the end of the day, we don't want this to suck.
Right.
That's the bottom line. I don't want Masonry to suck so bad that I don't want to go there anymore. Right?
There does seem to be a bit like we're in an interesting time in Freemasonry. It's almost like a revitalization.
I agree.
The word?
Ascendancy.
A renaissance. And
a renaissance. Well,
it's almost like, what is a renaissance? It's like a changing of something new that's also old. I don't know how you
right.
classify it.
So a reformation would be
a reformation.
Well, that's a return. Well, maybe because that's a return to something from the past that was lost.
Okay,
you're
so
reforming.
More of a reformation.
More, it's kind of a reformation. I like to say it's an ascendancy to where it once was.
Yes.
Right. We want Masonry to go back to the days where it was a very solemnly respected member of the community.
Right.
You know,
right.
All right, that weird building with no windows on the end of the street. Yeah, that's a little weird, but the guys in there, they're awesome.
Yeah. I mean, we were coming out of our own lodge last meeting,
yeah,
I believe, and a woman was walking by and started cursing at Worshipful Leonard, who was coming out of our lodge.
Right.
Was like, "Oh, you're done with your Satan worshiping, you evil, blah, blah, blah." And he was like, "I don't know what you're talking about, man." She's like, "You know what I'm talking about?" And she was cursing at him, and he said, "I'm a good Christian. I don't know what you're talking about.
Right.
I don't know anything about what you just said." And she wasn't satisfied because she didn't get that.
She didn't get the reaction.
She really wanted was for him to be all like, "How dare you, man!"
Right.
And so that's alive and well today. And who do we have to blame for that? This is our town. We haven't been in our town enough, showing people who we are. That's our fault.
Oh, good call.
We need to get out there. And
we need to get
these
out
guys. We're here for you. We're here to help, and that's something we should work on in the future.
Yeah.
If there was a public meeting in the leadership of our lodge, and anyone asked an opinion, I would say maybe we should focus on that a little bit.
Right. Yeah. If there were any kind of questions like that out there, who knows? Maybe there is. Maybe there isn't. I don't know. Anyway. I just thought I'd bring it up. It was on my mind just arbitrarily for no particular reason, and thought, it's, and I like where we just went. I think the listeners probably did too.
All lodges, I bet, have
the same issue. How do you get? And I bet Grand Lodge has a lot to share about this as well. Is how do you get the men, of differing positions and different thoughts and ideas and egos to want the same vision as the leader, as the worshipful master, without making it so bad that nobody wants to come anymore, and you not only did you lose your vision, you lost your manpower. It is a unique man who can pull it off, and I think your subscription, the direction you went,
thank you,
Chris, was the right one. That this is a volunteer organization, everybody matters, but not everybody can get everything they want.
Right.
So we all have to
be heard.
You will be heard.
Everyone deserves to be heard.
And respected.
Sure.
And you won't be gavelled.
You pay your dues, right? You're a member. It's your lodge.
It's your lodge.
I think that's part of our issue is that we elevate individuals. And I was my wife and I watch a lot of documentaries, and we were trying to define what a cult is.
Oh, yeah.
And oftentimes, if you look at the definition of a cult, it does come down to elevating one charismatic individual to be like the supreme leader or whatever that everyone has to listen to. And I'm afraid we might have gone too far in elevating our leadership, including even the masters of our lodge, and say, you're supreme in your leadership.
Right.
No one can question you.
Right.
Okay. But let's be real. It's a service job.
It's a service
You're really
job.
here to serve. You don't really get to vote on things or raise any kind of motion. It's like you're just a ringleader, man. You're just supposed to be here to coordinate things. And I like that we dedicate one person whose job is to bring light to the craft.
Right.
So that man's job is really to think about, how can I help my lodge become better? How can I get more education in here? How can I get them better at their ritual work? Like, really, that's the job of the master.
How can I foster that fellowship? Like last night, everybody was in the dining hall eating last night together, and it was great. I heard people laughing and joking. I didn't either. I'm the treasurer. I was in the office. That's all right. I served. You were too. But I as I walked in there, passed through there to go to the bathroom and run back into the office to get back on my computer, everybody's having a great time.
That's awesome. I'm so happy to hear that.
Yeah, and it was it was pretty full.
Oh, good.
The dining hall was, and so a lot of guys came out last night to our stated meeting, and it was it was a stated meeting, man. There's not it's
We do what we
it's
can.
a business meeting, guys.
Yeah, we have our little trivia game. That's that actually came about. So I'm sorry.
No,
I'm
trivia
talking
game.
like they know what I'm talking about.
We go ahead, explain.
We do open education before lodge for 30 minutes after the meal for everybody. But then in the lodge, we have Masonic education, and we sometimes do that, have actual closed-tiled Masonic education for the Masons, but we always do a trivia game. So we bring in a gift card. I have a list of questions with some answers. It's kind of topical, the fellow craft degree, the master mason charge. It's kind of like a topic. And whoever raises their hand after the question's asked gets to answer the question. First guy goes west of the altar. Once he's right, the rest of the craft keep going until we have two guys west of the altar, and then those two alone answer trivia in a trivia off, and the winner gets the gift card. And then we just kind of ask the rest of the questions in case we can go through them, just to get some more education.
It's awesome.
And we try to include some information people might not know about the topic. So you had a game, you had fun, you won money, but guess what? You learned something.
You learned something along the way.
We did the education in a fun way.
We're kind of about education over here.
Big time education. I mean, think about it. We're doing 30 minutes before. Sometimes we do 10, 15 minutes in, plus the trivia game.
Yeah.
That's a lot of education that we still get out by 9 o'clock.
Right.
Mind you.
And Chuck 3.0, shout out to Chuck, did a very good presentation last night on the Masonry and the Nazi Party.
Yeah.
And it was quite informative, actually.
People get really engaged in that because our education isn't someone reading from paper.
Right.
Something he wrote and then sitting down. Our educations tend to be somebody talking about a topic they're kind of passionate and knowledgeable about.
Right.
And then the conversation. And the conversation is a big part of the education. So don't skimp on the questions and answers and back and forth and the things people talk about on that topic. That's kind of the best part of the education.
That's right. Yeah, I agree. And when you get like we do when we do the esoteric discussion group, getting men involved in discussion and drawing them out, of their silence into discussion, it really helps everybody. Everybody learns because you don't when you hear yourself articulating a position, it's really different than how you say it inside your own head, isn't it? Yeah, and it's I have many long sessions in my office talking out loud,
to yourself.
And my wife knocks on the door and says, "Who exactly are you talking to in there?" It's like, well, no one yet, but eventually I will be. So get out,
get out of here! I'm working, can't you see?
Yeah. So the trivia game is. I think it's a great idea. It makes it fun. What?
The esoteric thing you discussed is you guys have probably seen, we post pictures online of the in-person groups that we have. You see the people showing up. This is multiple lodges in our district. The last meeting we had more than one district represented.
Right, that's right.
A master from another district came down, and it was great. He shared so much of a different perspective.
He brought so much to that
little
conversation.
Group.
Shout out, Worshipful Carol.
And we had a new EA from our lodge that attended. Usually EAs from other lodges are there, but for once we had one of our guys there. So I was doing his catechism class last night, and I was so curious. What did you think about that? And the other EAs are around that weren't there. And he was like, absolutely blew my mind. Like, this is why I wanted to join the fraternity.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I didn't even know it could be that useful and cool what you guys did for us. He's like, I felt heard.
Right.
Even though I was an EA, you guys at one point asked us specifically for our viewpoint as apprentices.
Yeah.
He's like, I felt like you guys cared about what I was thinking, and it was what I had to say mattered. And he's like, I learned so much from listening to other people's point of views. I never thought that I could have an experience like that. So it's profound for a new Mason to come into an environment where they see Masonry. We talk about it a lot with entered apprentices, right? We go over the catechism, they're memorizing the stuff, and we talk about it in the mentoring. But did they really see it?
Do they see it?
Much. That's an opportunity for you to let them see and feel what Freemasonry is. Let it get into their hearts. more than it already is.
Yeah.
So we encourage everyone to start in your district. Think about doing an esoteric discussion night outside the lodge like this. We're publishing blog posts now, like we promised, on our website.
Yes.
And we will start publishing agendas for esoteric discussion groups.
Yeah, that's coming.
How to do it.
As this year winds down, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, brother.
You're good.
As this year winds down, and we're freed up more and more. Chris is super busy right now as worshipful master and the guardian of all things Masonry in District 23.
Not for much longer.
Not for much longer.
It's almost over.
Once that is over, and then I'll be freed up as well. We promise you, dear listener, that we are definitely going to take this OTL, which is on the level, to the next level. We absolutely will
in a big way.
Yeah, we're blowing it up.
We
man.
just want to
decided
provide so much resources and tools to the everyday Mason. That's our goal.
And that's what you guys have been telling us over and over. We get more and more people all around the world telling us that this is something that they want. This is something you guys want and need in your lives, and we have heard that, and we should be in a good position coming up this new year to absolutely fulfill that dream and desire, man. So
we will be in a good position.
We will be.
It doesn't matter what happens in our lives.
That's right.
This
we will
show
be.
Will go on.
It will go on. Like we said in the very beginning.
You stuff me, you put me here, and you look at me when you talk about stuff. I want to be part of the show, even when I'm gone.
That's gonna be maybe some digitized version. You're good at that
okay,
stuff.
That's
so
fair enough.
Digitize yourself,
robot man.
And then we'll go that way. But So, anyways, guys, keep listening. Keep up the emails and the contact, the support. We really, really appreciate it, and good things are coming.
It's your show. We want you to
we want you guys to be
part
part
of
it.
We want to definitely help you include some of the stuff that we're doing in your lives and your lodges.
That's
if
right.
it works for you.
That's right.
Look for some big things coming from us
absolutely.
next year.
It's coming. It's coming. Okay, so why are we here again? I forgot. Oh, right. So we're here to.
I thought we were taking dance lessons, but we're talking.
Oh no, that's
things.
not till 10.
Okay.
So a.m.
We're hardcore dancers. 10 a.m. on a Wednesday.
Yes,
dance lessons.
We'll be dancing with the stars.
No, we're talking about Masonic etiquette still.
Oh, that's right, Masonic etiquette. So this would be the second broadcast of our series on the etiquette book, GL 208. Sorry, Worshipful Kara, he's probably yelling right now out the correct name of it. Here's the problem. I left my book at home again. Those of you who are at the discussion group will know what that means because I left. Oh, GL 208.
Got it.
Reprinted in 2010.
Nailed it.
And we nailed it. And we went through go back to the last one. Where we left off was Bible presentation. And I think that's on the 6th page, if I'm not mistaken. It is. There we go. Sorry. And so let's. I'll read it if you want, Chris, and then you can comment on it. We don't have any of this memorized. All of this is published. It doesn't matter if you're an EA, fellow craft, or master mason. You should know this. You should know where your copy. It's a yellow cover copy of a book that you got when you were an EA. So this book is somewhere with dust on it in your office. Please go get it, brother. I admonish you with all love and respect to go get it and to read it and to understand it because it matters. This book speaks about Masonic etiquette in and out of the lodge. And I think it's important. We are supposed to be gentlemen. It actually uses that word.
Yes, repeatedly that gentlemanly behavior is a hallmark of Freemasonry.
That's correct. That's correct.
If you want to be a good Mason, you got to start thinking more gentlemanly.
Using manners and slow and wise counsel and speech, and the way you carry yourself. That people, men, women, and children would look to you simply because of the way you carry yourself. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the ways to tell that if you're a man, a gentleman. People will trust you simply because of the way you live your life and the words you say. That doesn't come overnight, and I'm not saying it's
No.
done to perfection. I certainly don't do it to perfection. I am an absolute slob at times.
It's a
Just ask my wife.
journey.
It's a lifelong journey.
Baby steps that you got to take every day,
That's right.
and you'll never be perfect. You'll never reach the destination, but it's about the journey, right?
Correct.
And every time you correct something, you become a little more confident in fixing the next thing, and they start to build and snowball, and your progress gets faster and faster.
Correct. So
Towards gentlemanhood.
gentlemanliness. I can't believe I said that.
You can say anything if you started, "Excuse me, sir."
Yes, that's
I think
right.
That's the gentleman's fighting words.
Excuse
me, sir.
A gentleman's only comeback is, "Good day, sir."
And good day to you.
Good day, sir. That's their only comeback. They
Good
can't.
day to your mother.
They're really not allowed to say anything else. Good day, sir. Or I like what they say in Parliament when somebody asks a question that's unnecessary. They say, "I refer my esteemed colleague to the answer I gave a moment ago."
Yeah, in America, we're like, "I just told you, a-hole."
Right, that's right. Don't you listen? What's wrong with you over there? Shut up and sit down.
You have to start with it. "Excuse me, sir. I just told you, a-hole." And then you're a gentleman.
Maybe not.
Do it
Maybe not.
properly.
Perhaps we should keep reading. All right, page 2, GL 208, the 2010 Revised Version, Bible presentation. Our regulations prescribe that the Bible used in the lodge room should be the unadorned Holy Bible. It is not believed that this prohibits the presentation to a new brother of a Bible bearing the square and compass on the back. The remainder of the covering being plain and of a solid color, nor does it prohibit the use of the Bible having a page in the front for recording presentation. It goes without saying that no one new member is to be singled out for such presentation. That if the lodge authorizes such presentation, then the Bible should be presented to each member thus received. When so presented, the officiant presenting the same should deliver a short and dignified message as to the place the Holy Bible occupies in Masonry and its significance and binding effect upon every Mason. In parentheses, it says, see also presents to candidate. I don't know what that means, but we'll figure that out. So anyways, the Bible that's on our, I think there's more to be said in this other part, presents. So we'll get there, it looks like. So the one that sits on our altar is the King James Version, the authorized King James Version. And it seems to bring a little bit of controversy with it.
I think the spirit of this is that they don't want a gaudy book. That's
right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like it's profound enough on its own. It doesn't need that.
Right.
It doesn't need that gold leaf, flowery things flowing off of it. It's profound enough, the written words on the pages, and so let's focus on that. Right? Let's just have the scriptures open when we're doing business, and not focus on or our distractions from the shiny whatever that book had. We have used a Masonic Bible in the past on our altar. It does have a picture on the cover.
I remember that. I remember seeing that. It's gone now.
Yeah, we're trying to get to a more plain looking Bible, which is what we use today. I don't think it's over adorned. I don't think we have any over adorned scriptures in our.
No, the one that you're talking about did have a portrait on the cover of I believe it was John the Baptist, but it was a portrait which was inappropriate. It's not supposed to be, clearly by this standard here. That's not supposed to be. That's the reason why we removed it.
Yeah, and we're always learning and trying to do things the right way.
Correct.
So there you go. You need to have a fairly simple authorized. In Florida, we have to have an actual Christian Bible on the altar.
That is correct.
It is law. We are allowed to obligate other brothers under their books of faith, and they can be on the altar. Florida work says that we remove it very quickly after the obligation, so that the one book remains the focus.
Yeah. So during our last esoteric discussion group,
that did come up.
That came up.
Yeah.
And I learned something.
I guess we were talking about this.
We
That's
were.
fine. Okay.
We were talking about it, and it seems so long ago, right?
Yeah.
But I I've everybody knows my particular faith, being from the Christian faith. So the scriptures that I've studied for 35 years, and theology that I've studied. So to me, the Bible is very, very familiar for me.
You're a dispensational premillennialism.
No,
guy,
I'm
right?
not a premillennial
Sorry.
dispensationalist.
I just learned that. And I just wanted to use it because it sounds smart when you say it.
I'll tell you what sounds smarter is I am never mind. I like to hear myself talk. That's the problem.
Go
here.
back. You were talking about the esoteric discussion group, and this
right.
topic came up
And
about.
so what I learned is, and I'm always like trying to figure out, Lord, what do I do? I'm a Christian man who happens to be a Mason.
Yeah.
And it for me, it has so sharpened my faith within my own mind and caused me to dig deeper and deeper and deeper into all of this teaching. And I hope everybody has this experience, that you're digging deeper and deeper into what you believe and why you believe it. But I came to this conclusion during that time. And the conversation was about why the Christian Bible, why in Florida does it have to be the actual Old and New Testament, the King James 1611 authorized version of the Holy Scriptures, which has been the rule and guide for all Christian doctrine and behavior for thousands of years, since 1611 as far as that particular canonized version goes. And all of these things, but for me, I came to the conclusion that the reason it's on that altar, the reason why in Florida it's there, is because that's where we get all of our analogies and teachings from.
Right.
It doesn't necessarily preach, if you open up that Bible, go to the book of the Gospel of John and read it, okay? You're going to find a lot more than masonry in there, bro. And but the reason why it's the standard for this state is not for any religious reasons. It's because that's where you find Solomon. That's where you find the temple. That's where you find the king of Tyre. That's where you find Hiram Abiff. That's where you find seek, knock, ask. It's all in there. And that's what's used for our degree work, for the analogies we use for living a good life, for squaring your work by the virtues, all that stuff.
Like you said, the characters that we use in our stories to teach moral lessons come from there.
Moral lessons come from there. And that's why it's there. It's not promoting any one religion. We are not a religion. Masonry is not a religion. We are a group of brothers, it's a fraternity of religious brothers, of men who believe that there is a God. And we come together, and all are welcome under the roof, as long as we all treat each other with gentleness and respect with regard to our individual belief structures. From that place, I've said it before, and I will say it again and again and again, there is no other place like that on this planet currently. I don't know if there's ever been a place where people from different faiths can sit and enjoy a meal together, discuss their differences in harmony, and come away being better men for it. It's worth the price of admission, baby, right there. I'm telling you, man, it's an amazing thing. Anyway, I'm going on a little bit here. Help me out.
The one a kind of hot topic that came out of this in our discussion group was, and I actually agree with the dissenting view against Grand Lodge here, is because I've been the senior deacon and I've been in this position. So you have a Jewish brother who's obligating himself on the
Torah,
the Tanakh.
Oh, Tanakh.
I think
okay,
it's called.
Right. Yep.
And then you have obviously the Christian Bible for the other guys that are potentially going with him. And so we don't want to get into details here, but we do take our obligations together, and we take our obligations on the books that are sacred to us, and we allow that in Freemasonry. It's totally okay, totally common, especially in Florida, to have that happen. But in Florida, our rules say basically as soon as that's over, you take that book right in front of them, take it off. And that's where I personally feel it's quite disrespectful to the person to remove it while they're still there, right in front of them. It seems like it would be more compassionate to wait until a later point when they're not right in front of it to remove it.
Yeah, I don't. Do you know the reason why that is?
I don't. I really don't know.
Yeah.
I just know it only recently became. Somebody made this rule just a couple of years ago.
Wow.
And I don't know what the spirit of it is, but I know it's tough. It's tough to be the person to yank that book off in front of the brother.
Yeah,
and get rid of it.
It seems a little bit disruptive to the entire process anyway. I mean,
that's where the only confrontation I think came in with our discussion was a lot of people apparently feel that way.
Interesting.
That we should probably wait until we're at break or something when no one's around and then remove it, and no one will even notice it's gone then.
Right, right, because the jewels stay on the original one anyway.
Correct. And that's a new rule also. We used to have jewels on each of the books.
Yeah.
And now we only have one book with jewels, which is way better.
Right. So
way better.
For me personally, I know the scriptures. Like I said, I've studied theology for many, many years, and I have no problem with it because it always comes down to the same thing. You know, if you truly believe something, can it stand the test? Any test, you know. So if
it can.
Right.
It
should be able to stand the test. And can you defend your position and your beliefs in a way that, you know, that is respectful for others? And are you confident enough? Am I confident enough to see that the King James version of the scriptures is sitting next to the Tanakh on a Masonic altar while we do a degree? Of course. Of course. It's really the spirit of it is about that brother.
Yeah.
He's coming in. He's bringing with him something from his life that we knew nothing about before we met him. And we're accommodating him in that way. Now, as you know, do I want to be able to teach him something about my life? Yes. Do I want to learn something about his life? Yes, I do. But I don't understand the reason behind that. Maybe if somebody out there is listening and they know why that came about, I'd really like to be educated on that too. Yeah, I really would be, because if anything, it seems all right. So all of a sudden, everybody knows where the part of our degree that we're talking about right there.
They do,
and it's always a bit hard to negotiate anyway. It seems to be, at least in our lodge, it does.
There's a lot going on.
We've drawn blood during that time in that small space. Yeah. So it just seems disruptive at that point. Just leave it there and move on. But I'd like to know why. All right, next one is brother is a title. I read that forever, saying brother as a title, but it doesn't say that. It says brother is a
It's the title, right?
It's the title.
It's the one we all joined for.
It's the great equalizer, man. You can have a bunch of letters before and after your name, which I respect if you've made your way through.
It's kind of ridiculous, let's be honest. I have several titles now.
Right, you do.
It's quite annoying. It's quite annoying. And it's hard because, like, we had Brother Marty Saya was talking about something in the lodge last night.
Right.
And he was trying to tell stories of many people in our district that are leadership, and good Lord, getting the titles right takes longer than the story.
Right,
it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Okay, we have a past district deputy who's the current sitting master. His proper title is Right Worshipful Master. That's his proper title.
That is currently his title.
It doesn't just roll off the tongue, and you don't say it every day, so you really got to think about it when you say it. And no one ever says it right. So it's almost like, man. And he caught it after he said right worshipful, right honorable, right worshipful, worshipful. He was like, you know what, brother. He just went to brother. And everyone was like, thank you, please just call them all brothers. Let's get to the story.
Right.
We don't need to spend more time focused on the titles than the point. And the titles, in my opinion, get in the way a little bit. I've been master in introducing Grand Lodge officers, and holy cow, it's stressful to remember. Is it grand something, or is it something grand? And it's tough. And then they're also right worshipfuls and, you know, illustrious in this degree, and over there you're something else. It is. I remember, hard to get all these titles right, and for an organization that's so focused on equality, we have a lot of titles. So let's just stick to brother. If you're struggling, don't struggle. No one wants to hear you struggle. Just say brother.
That's what this is going to say here, I'm sure. And I remember first early on in my Masonic career, bumping in. I would almost avoid Right Worshipful Haber.
You didn't want to say it?
Because I couldn't figure it out. And in my mind, I'm going at 100 miles an hour. Okay, it's Right Worshipful District Deputy Grand Master Haber.
Right.
And I'm
right.
like, dun, dun, and I'm in my head. I got it. I stick my hand out, and I'm like, he looks at me, and you know how Haber is. He's like,
just call me
brother. Just call me brother. You did that well. Just call me brother. And it was just like, And from that day forward, I just felt like, I get it. I get that. So anyway,
and honestly, the people that got titles, that earned those titles, don't care about the titles anyway.
Don't care about the titles. Yeah.
I mean, we do it out of respect. I do it too. I really want to get people's
respect
titles right.
for the position.
Sure.
Yeah, that's correct.
And you want to show the person you respect them, so you want to say their title right. And it can be stressful because you really want to get it right.
Yeah.
Because you're like, man, I just made it worse when I got the... I wanted to be respectful, and now he thinks I'm a tool.
Right.
And I just wanted to do it right.
I tried so hard, and now I look like an idiot.
It's hard. Don't feel bad if you can't get the titles right. It is hard. There's a lot of titles, and you don't say them often. So
when in doubt, pull the ultimate title, brother.
Just call me brother.
In the usages of Freemasonry, brother is neither a sentimental nor familiar form of address, but it is a title, as much so as worshipful, right honorable, right worshipful, or most worshipful, and must always be used as such. A man does not attend a lodge communication in his capacity as a private individual. He is not just Joe or Bill or John, but is there in his capacity as a Mason. Mm-hmm. For this reason, one should never in open lodge refer to Bill B, but always to Brother B. Mm-hmm. In the same literal sense as any other office of the lodge or Grand Lodge. So that means that, as you would address most worshipful bishop, mm-hmm. In the same spirit, Brother Chris is in the same spirit.
Yeah.
And that's what it's saying here. It doesn't matter who it is or what their title is. You should always refer to them with their ultimate title, which is brother.
Yeah. And we've now interviewed grandmasters who have told us that.
That's right.
I don't mind being called brother.
Yeah,
they
absolutely.
Like it.
Yep.
They're like, I like for you to think of me as your brother instead of this other thing.
Yeah.
Because I am. I'm your brother.
Yeah, and it's just as cringy and awkward for them to watch you struggle as it is for you to struggle through it, when in their heart they're thinking to themselves, just call me brother, man. We're brothers. I started where you started. I'm where I am, and you're where you are, and we are brothers. Always address a Grand Lodge officer at any communication by his correct title, and he in turn must show the same courtesy to other Grand Lodge officers present as well as the worshipful master and to the brethren of the lodge.
So everyone's a brother, but only call them by their titles in the Grand Lodge. You must learn right honor, most worshipful. You've got to say those titles according to this
in open lodge. I think is what they're saying. When you're in an actual called communication, you should always use those titles, and as part of addressing them. This rule of etiquette should be punctuously observed. Punctualistically
I guess that means you
observed,
better do it, huh?
no matter what ties of family or friendship may exist.
So even your buddy needs to use the proper title.
Yeah, right. That's right. Yeah. So like I'm supposed to call you Worshipful Burns.
Right.
I should not be saying, yo, what up, dude? So even in this rule of etiquette is to be punctuously observed, which I would assume means everywhere all the time. Mm-hmm. Observed, no matter what ties, family, or friendship may exist. So technically, I should be referring to you as Worshipful Burns, and I know if I do that, you're going to hit me over the head with a Nerf bat. So
I guess I understand, because we're supposed
I
to be
it.
gentlemen, and so this is a gentlemanly thing to do, is to learn the titles and use them properly.
Right.
But I guess it also says a fallback of brother shouldn't be the end of the world, right?
That's right.
If you just can't get it, just please say brother and move on.
Yeah.
But don't go around calling everybody brother. Try to get the titles right if you can.
I think you should.
And in the work, we're required to use titles in the work. It's Florida work. So
right.
You've got to learn them at least in that extent.
You got to know them.
Please, if you're a junior warden, senior warden, or master, or junior deacon, or anyone that's going to say Right Worshipful District Deputy Grand Master, maybe spend a few minutes saying it a couple times, because
right honorable,
those you are going to say. They are part of the ritual work, and if you don't say it right, it's kind of ugh.
Well, and like the Master Mason Association, we do School of Instruction afterwards.
Yeah.
And Right Honorable Broom,
Yes,
is acting in his position, even though it's not a called communication. He is giving instruction to the group. So you refer to him as Right Honorable Broom. That's the way. That's proper. So to shout out across the room, "Yo, Broom, what's up, man?" that would be inappropriate, even though we're not in a called communication.
yeah, he's doing his function of his job.
He's doing his job
he
in
should be
his function. He
referred to.
should be referred to in that way. That's correct. Yeah, that's good. I mean, that's good information. Next is chaplain,
Ooh, brother chaplain.
and it goes on. It goes on a bit.
Essentially, our chaplains are supposed to be the person connecting with the sick and infirmed and elderly brothers of the lodge, and just really making sure he's the advocate for them in the officers' line. He's
Right.
making sure that we're all not forgetting about the brothers that are sick, any brothers that can't make it to lodge, any brothers that, are dealing with any kind of long-term health or even short-term health problems. It's his job to be in touch and in tune with that and make sure the craft is aware. And also, in many lodges, like we just did, we have a brother who had a heart procedure, worshipful. I'm not going to say his name in case he doesn't want his medical information out there, but
Right.
he did, and it was mentioned, and the lodge bought some cards, and we all signed them. And the chaplain did that. The chaplain's coordinating,
Right.
sending him our thoughts and prayers through him.
Right.
So
right.
he's kind of like that's the center of that for the lodge. I don't know what the book's going to say, but I think it's basically saying that in a nutshell.
Yeah. So I'm a ordained chaplain. I've been one for many years. I've done hospital work and jail ministry.
Can you bless me?
As a chaplain, I can, of course.
I'll sneeze later.
Far be it from me not to bless my brother. But the word chaplain is an interesting word. It comes from, it's a French word, is where it comes from, and it comes from chapelle, which was that the King of France, he had an attendant that would hold his cloak. So the king's cloak could never touch the ground, and it had to be protected at all times. So when the king took off his cloak, he handed the chapelle, or he handed his cloak to the chapelle, and he was the one who tended the king. He was also protector and minister of the king. So that's where the word chaplain comes from.
Protector of the king?
Protector and minister to and of the king to the people. So he was kind of like the king's right-hand man.
Okay.
So he was right. So chaplaincy, like in the military, a chaplain he's the one who, if like a Christian chaplain, a Muslim chaplain, a Jewish chaplain in the military, is the right-hand man of the church. So he's the one who's out in the field, representing the church to the people who need to hear from their faith. He's the go-between in the field of battle, in the trenches. That's what chaplains do. So me as when I worked at Manatee Memorial Hospital, I was on the chaplain corps, and whenever somebody they'd fill, if you've ever been in the hospital, you fill out that piece of paper and it asks you what religion you are. Well, if you were to check Christian, then that goes into the computer, and the computer finds out who's next on the roster, and then we're responsible for going up there and saying, hi, I see that you checked that you are a Christian, or if you were a Muslim or a Jewish person, whatever. Would you like me to sit with you, talk with you? Do you need us to pray with you? Do you want, some people would be like, oh, I'm so glad you're here. And other people are like, well, I don't know. I just checked it because my parents were, and now get out. But that's where the whole idea behind chaplain comes from. I think in Masonry, we're about to find out here by reading it, but it's that, like you kind of said, he represents the worshipful master and Masonry to the brother outside who's hurting or inside who's hurting. So he's the liaison. He's the guy in the trenches that goes. Like we ask all the time, Brother Chaplain, are there any reports of distress?
Yeah.
Well, he's supposed to know that,
Right.
because he's the guy in the trenches making the phone calls,
Right.
and getting that, and people call him and he calls them to find out where they are. Now, some chaplains do that work better than others, obviously, but that's kind of the idea behind it, and that's where the word comes from. Chaplain. It's
an important role.
It's a very important role.
You're
I
not
agree.
in the progressive line, which some people don't like.
Right.
But think about that. That means you're an officer who's going to run through. The only other officers like that are the treasurer and the secretary.
Yes.
You're on that level.
Right.
You're the institution. You're helping the new masters and the new officers.
Yeah, you sit at the left hand of the East. I mean, it's an important place.
You're involved in everything, and
That's
your
right.
opinion should be really greatly appreciated because you're like the legacy of the lodge, right?
Yeah.
There's not many people at an officers meeting who have been there year after year. Chaplain should be one of them.
You have the opportunity to be the point man for the physical needs of your people. Huge, huge. I love the chaplaincy work I did. I was a chaplain for Sarasota County Jail for all of 2013. Some of the best experiences of my life, being able to go in there every night, every Sunday night for 52 Sundays in a row. I was able to go in there and create relationships with men, some who went on to completely turn their lives around. There's few, but some that did, and it was just an incredible experience. But you're literally in the business of tending to the needs of others.
Yeah.
And to me, if I could do that full time, I would. But that's a dream that's gone a different direction. Chaplain, as an officer of the lodge, and while acting in the capacity, the correct place for the chaplain is to be seated during a For the chaplain to be seated during a communication is to the left and in front of the worshipful master. The prayers at the opening and closing of the lodge may be offered by the chaplain while kneeling at the altar or while standing at his place, at the option of the worshipful master. The scriptures assigned to the circumambulations should be recited by the chaplain standing in his place of the lodge.
Yeah. We do have Florida work that details when he stands, when he sits, when he says things, when he doesn't. So that is all spelled out in your combined floor workbook, which I hope you all have.
Chaplain standing in his place in the lodge. Sorry, I lost my spot here. And should not be read. I didn't know that.
Yeah, you're supposed to memorize these prayers.
See, now I was always told that the reason why the chaplain spot is a bit attractive for some people is because they don't have to memorize everything.
That's the wrong way to look at it. I think if you're new, maybe you're not going to be expected to do it right out of the gate, but it should be an expectation that before the end of your first year, you're doing it by memory.
Okay. So it says it right here, so that's obviously true. The chaplain has otherwise so little to render. The chaplain has otherwise so little to render that the memorization of these portions should not prove burdensome to him. Whoa.
That's right. Well, you're not learning all the different parts and all the degrees like the other officers.
Oh, that's
right?
true.
You just have these to learn. So it should be easy for you to get it. Look at what all the other guys are learning.
That's true. I mean,
what do you know? Junior warden already, junior deacon, you know all these different roles.
Right.
In different degrees, too.
Yeah.
They just have to learn the prayers, which are all written out.
Yeah.
They don't need any help.
And it's the same every time. So you should be able to get it. It shouldn't prove to be burdensome to him.
No.
Only the adopted ritual prayers as founded in the official Florida Monitor shall be used in opening, closing, and during degree conferrals, except that the chaplain may add some words of his own at the end of the opening and or closing prayer in non-sectarian language and in good taste. I love that.
Well, we are so lucky. Our chaplain is the best chaplain.
Shout out Chaplain Joel.
Brother Joel Furman. He's a competition chaplain.
Yeah, he's great.
Competed many times and flawlessly. But he doesn't just know our work. He knows the Canadian charge.
Right.
And he has various other flavors of prayers that he does add to the opening and closing after the proper ones.
Yeah.
So we're just so lucky. He knows all of the prayers and all the circumambulation for all the degrees from memory. And he knows all the charges. He's got a brown card, which means you know all that stuff. And you can do apron presentations and the 25-year presentations. He's got it all.
Yeah, and he's such a humble man, and he wants the best for that position. He's willing to train.
It's rare you see that. So our chaplain, when was this, last month?
Yeah.
Made an announcement that he won't be continuing.
Right.
And literally in open lodge requested anyone interested get in touch with him so that he can personally make sure that he trains them and that they learn everything before they're installed.
Yeah.
So they can abide by the Masonic.
Yeah. I love that.
Book.
He takes such ownership and pride in it. You know, and the reason why he's stepping down is he says he's got some health reasons that he's not comfortable with the way he's doing it. I am completely comfortable, brother, with the way you're doing it, but I get it.
His
it's his own.
Is that he's losing his hearing.
Right.
He has been progressively, so he's been learning sign language for years to prepare for this.
Okay.
So he can't hear 90% of what happens in our meeting. Can you imagine sitting through one of our meetings and not knowing 90% of the time what's going on?
That would drive me nuts.
It drives him nuts.
Yeah, I can see that.
And I actually learned the sign of Brother Chaplain lead us in prayer in case it got that bad for him. We did that together. He showed me.
That's cool.
But he's still able to hear it. You know, we talk loud. He can hear it. He kind of knows when to do it. And so he's powering through. But, yeah, next year he doesn't have a desire to be present and not know what's happening.
I hope that doesn't mean we won't see him.
Oh, no, he'll be around.
Yeah, and I hope he's there. I think Marty's taking over, right? Brother Marty Sykes is going to be chaplain, so that's what I'm hearing. So
they're working together.
They're working together already.
He's teaching him to memorize this.
And
stuff.
Marty's a great man. We love Marty, and we're so glad he's part of our lodge, man. He's cool, man. I don't know why. There's always he's one of those guys. There's always an encouraging word that when Marty's walking towards you, you know what's coming. You know, and he's just going to put his arm around you, and he's just going to say, "I love you, brother." I'm you know, this, that, and the other. But it's always going to be an encouraging word, and he reminds me of what it's supposed to be. That reminds, especially when I'm having a really rotten day, and I really want to chew somebody's head off. You know, it's nice that Marty's got that, you know, that spirit that I covet so much. I'm not that way by nature. You know, I'm the opposite. So anybody who has that spirit in them by nature, you know, is something that I aspire to. Correspondence, Masonic correspondence. This is interesting. When addressing mail to a brother Mason, do not put his title as such on the envelope. It should be addressed as Honorable John Doe. I didn't know that. In the salutation of the letter, the title should appear as Right, ;, W, ;, John Doe, with his address. And then, Dear Brother Doe. That's interesting. That was it.
So you will be getting correspondence from Grand Lodge?
Right.
You will be?
Yes.
Because
you signed me up for stuff I wasn't aware of.
You will be.
Yeah.
And this is exactly how it's going to look.
Okay.
They follow these to the T.
Well, I know. On my my treasury report, I learned to brother dot semicolon period Fred Packwood. So I know to do that. So I get that. But it's interesting that on the cover of the letter, honorable HON period and then the name should be on that. So when I get my monthly trestle board, I'll have to look and see if that's how it's addressed.
If not, somebody's head's rolling.
Somebody's head's gonna roll. Why wasn't I told about this?
Oh man, can't make that stuff up.
Here's one that we might end on this one. We'll see. Discussion in lodge.
Okay.
I know.
Let's do this.
Let's do this.
Okay.
We've dealt with this in our lodge, just so everybody knows.
High level. I, as the master, am a fan of letting everyone speak their piece until they're satisfied.
Correct.
I understand that is not a prominent way of thinking. People want to just get out as quickly as you can. That's kind of what people are more focused on than hearing everyone out. But, you know, when you have like an amendment to raise your dues, for example, a lot of people are going to come and they're all going to have an opinion. And you saw it at Grand Lodge. The way that we accommodate that is we say, all right, this number of people will speak for, this number of people will speak against. You will have X number of minutes each to speak, and then that will be it. And so that way you get a representation of the pros and cons.
Correct.
From the craft. But in general, everyday meetings, we don't need to do that. Brothers can just follow the guidelines here in the Masonic etiquette book.
That's
and
right.
We should be good.
Guidelines which are all sectarian discussion, all argument or statement pro or con as to the merits of civil politics or any given religion or theological creed or racial questions or private businesses or of any other non-Masonic subject by which Masons might be divided into classes, feuds, schisms, or opposed schools.
Ooh, no sports talk.
Is at all times forbidden. It is strictly forbidden to discuss a petitioner, or it is strictly forbidden to discuss a petitioner, or for a Mason to reveal how he has voted, or in any way to seek to persuade members to vote one way or another on a petitioner. All uses of personalities, all expressions of bitterness or ill will, acrimoniousness, and all or any slurs upon the lodge or its officers, Grand Lodge or its officers, and the fraternity itself, and all flippant, unseemly, or discourteous remarks addressed to the lodge or its officers are condemned alike by the principles of common courtesy and etiquette and by the disciplinary laws of the craft.
Wow. Disciplinary laws can come into effect. Interesting.
Man, that's pretty heavy, man. So sectarian discussions and arguments, and it really boils down to that one statement right there. That would cause schism and separation and disharmony. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
And we've talked about this before on the show. When I first came to the lodge, there was this belief that there's this hard, fast rule that you cannot talk about anything of a religious nature or a political nature, and if you do, the thought police are coming your way to shut you up.
Like ever. Some people thought that as a Mason, you just can't ever talk about this stuff with another Mason.
And my question is, well, then what do we talk about that has any kind of meaning or substance? What we adopted...
I think we killed it. We successfully killed that way of thinking, at least in our lodge, and I think it may be spreading to other lodges.
I hope so. What we came up with was the concept that, first thing, we're grown men, and we're Masons. So we should be able to have a conversation about anything. Anything at all, with gentleness and respect with regard to the other person's feelings. And that we have adopted in our lodge, and it works very well. It works very well. Nobody's ever walking away offended because somebody barked at them, their viewpoint on some political issue. And I know that does happen in lodges.
It shouldn't happen in the lodge.
It should never happen.
What we're talking about here in the etiquette book is during the stated meetings.
Correct.
In
that is
the
right.
open lodge, we treat each other more respectfully. We use our proper titles. We behave more gentlemanly. And you don't talk about anything that's going to cause disharmony or disrepute to the brother or the fraternity, right? It says
Correct.
It right here
that's
in black
right.
and white.
Yeah, that's right.
It does not say. And furthermore, you shall not go home and talk to your friends about anything important.
Right.
It doesn't say that.
Right.
It says in the lodge you need to be thinking about and not doing these things because they do cause disharmony. And they would probably. I mean, it would. It's just we're too crazy divided in this country for it not to affect people. So, and anything. It says anything. Religion and politics are two great examples, but it's not the only ones given here. It says
sports.
Anything.
Like you said, sports that could divide. If
Seriously,
it could divide you. I'm thinking about you, Johnny Schaefer, you Philadelphia Eagles fan.
Cincinnati. I don't know anything about sports, but
John
will
cut you, man. He'll
Is
cut
he
you.
one of those guys?
Yeah, he'll cut you, man.
He tried to move our open houses because it interfered with his football season. So
You're darn
I
right.
Known. But it did. It happened in lodge last night, and according to the etiquette book, it was incorrect to be done. Somebody made a joke about a sports team that our senior warden likes, and it didn't do well. And they were making a little jab at him that was fun and playful.
Right.
But that could cause some disharmony because people get really attached to their freaking sports team.
Oh,
so,
man, I know.
I guess you got to be careful with that stuff. And also the making jokes that could be offensive to people or, cause them to feel like they were made fun of or belittled in any way.
I think it goes back to our original statement. You're a grown man and you're a Mason. You know when you've gone too far. You know when a joke, when a comment, you know. You can tell by the body language of the person you're talking to, by the way it's being received. When you're saying something that you already know is potentially off cuff, and then all of a sudden the crowd goes silent. It's probably time to stop saying it and think about it, because you're a Mason. Check yourself before you wreck yourself. because at the end of the day, what we want to do is, it's okay to share what you believe and why you believe it. But if you're not doing it with the view to teach and to share and to educate and to be a part of the conversation, then you might as well not do it at all, because it's not going anywhere. It's not for educational purpose. It's not Masonic. And at the end of the day, you're only harming your own reputation. You're going to get a name there as a guy that's, constantly, there's always trouble. There's always this guy. Every time this guy talks, and after a while, your reputation will precede you. And you don't want that. We're Masons. We're supposed to be gentlemen. That's what this whole book is about. Yeah. Being a gentleman, a Mason, caring for the needs, the feelings, the thoughts. Yes, even the feelings and thoughts.
Excuse me, sir.
Excuse me, sir.
I care not for your thoughts or feelings.
Good day, sir.
There, see? Gentlemanly argument just happened.
All right, here. This is not to say that a Master Mason, particularly one who has acted as a representative in Grand Lodge, should not inform the craft fully and completely as to what has taken place in Grand Lodge. Such a report can be rendered truthfully and with dignity and without the use of personalities. And this rule, of course, should always be observed. A brother wishing to participate in a discussion in open lodge should always rise and address the worshipful master. He should speak on the subject at issue in the fewest possible words, not using his privilege of the floor as an opportunity to deliver a speech merely for his own sake. Is this thing on? Hello?
Could you repeat that last sentence just one more time in case people weren't listening, because it's incredibly important.
He should speak on the subject at issue in the fewest possible words. Wait, I don't think I said that right. Fewest possible words, not using his privilege of the floor as an opportunity to deliver a speech merely for his own sake.
There you go. A lot of people violate that one.
Yeah.
A lot of people violate that one.
Now look, I get it. No one likes to hear themselves talk more than me. I totally get it. I am my favorite subject. Make no mistake about it. But we have to resist the desire to get up there and drone on about things that are not, like it says, don't use your privilege of the floor as an opportunity to deliver a speech for your own sake. Because what happens is that silence that you notice while you're talking, there's a reason for it. There's a definite reason for it, because everybody knows what you're doing. And it's cringy, and you don't want to do it, I'm telling you.
Yeah, don't be afraid to talk. I mean, I would encourage people to participate more and stand up and speak. But this is a very clear admonishment that you should think about what your point is and get to it as quickly as possible.
Correct.
That's what it's saying.
Think through what you're going to say, say it, and be done.
Get to the point of it.
Right.
You don't need to add a personal story or color it or use a few extra words and draw it out. Like, get to the point. Say what you got to say and sit down.
Yeah.
So that somebody else can come up and say what they have to say. We have a limited amount of time in our meetings. Everyone wants to get out at a reasonable hour. We care about what you have to say. But there are people that they talk.
Yes.
And they're telling a story and they're relating it to something in their life to make their point. And then they sit down and somebody else says something and they pop right back up and respond to that.
Right.
Did you have to do that? Did you really need to further anything that you didn't say the first time? Those are the kind of things we have to think about.
Right.
Because when you start popping up and having a conversation in front of everybody, he talks, then I talk, then he talks, then I talk. That's really got no place in the lodge.
Right.
I say my point and I sit down. He says his point and he sits down. And that should be the end of it.
Right. Exactly. I think a lot of guys feel like they might want to do presentations or do speeches and stuff. And that's awesome. Great.
You should.
That's great. You should do that. It's not as easy as it looks. Let me just share that with you. But if you feel that that's something you want to do, I would encourage you to pursue it. It's part of the 7 liberal arts and scientists. One of them is rhetoric, and that's the ability to portray through words, ideas and thoughts, for the purpose of teaching. Learning rhetoric, the art of rhetoric, is part of what Masonry is all about. I encourage you to do that. And sometimes I feel like there's brothers out there who feel like they want to get up these opportunities to stand up in open lodge and say a few words is their opportunity to practice on their rhetoric or to be heard and to try it out. That's not the place, brother. If that's something you want to do, there's lots of opportunities. Put together a presentation for Masonic education and get on the list,
That's a great way to
That's
talk.
a great way to do it. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to be Plato, man, or Aristotle here. You just put together something that you think is important, that's important to you, and you think the brothers would appreciate, and then get out there and do it, man. Don't do it in lodge while we're all trying to get out of there by 9:30.
Yeah, and don't have a conversation in front of people in open lodge either. Save it for later.
Say it, please. One thing...
If you think it's going to happen, request a committee be formed so that you can go talk about it outside the lodge.
Absolutely. Something jumped out at me here. Let's see. The brother wishing to participate in a discussion in open lodge should always rise and address the worshipful master.
This also gets broken
a lot. So, and I know this is gonna come up here in the future. But the way I was taught is that if you have something to say in open lodge, you stand up and you don't say anything else until the worshipful master addresses you.
Right.
Then you address the worshipful master, may I, whatever it is. And that's the way it's supposed to be.
May I address Brother Packwood?
Right.
May I address the craft?
May I tell Brother Packwood to shut up? Right.
I mean,
exactly.
You should request permission to address anyone other than the master.
May I address the craft? May I walk about the lodge? That's the proper way to do it. And I think it goes into that a little more in depth as we go forward more and more. Well,
and wait to be recognized. Don't just pop up and start talking.
Right.
Especially to somebody else. You should start as worshipful master. Blah.
Right.
You don't just get up and start talking.
And the fact that you stood and you're waiting to be recognized.
Yeah.
You are not guaranteed, and you don't have a right to be recognized. You stand up, and if the worshipful master deems it appropriate, he will address you, and then you address him. And all of this should be done with decorum, thoughtfully, slowly, cautiously, and with decorum. And I think we're getting there more and more in our lodge. It's getting better and better, and I really dig it. I like that stuff. Yeah.
It does give more gravitas to the whole situation when we follow the rules of decorum.
That's right. Well, the next one is District Deputy Grand Master. So maybe
it is.
Maybe we'll save that for next time.
Director, district deputy. You gotta learn.
Wow, it's 2 pages long. So, yeah, we'll save that one for next time, or we'll skip it all together. We'll see how that goes. What's going on in your life there, Worshipful Burns? What's coming up here? What do we got going on?
Awesome things coming up.
Somebody told me something about a symposium in January.
Good. I was hoping you'd want to talk about it. I was like, don't do it. So we have a date. Okay, this isn't an official announcement. This is an unofficial because no one's listening.
It's the official.
If you're listening,
unofficial.
don't tell anyone.
Yeah, don't tell anyone. Tell everybody.
Okay. In January, I won't say the date yet, but in January or early January, we are hosting our first ever On the Level with Fred and Chris Masonic Education Symposium in Sarasota, Florida. Yes. It's going to be an all-day event. We've already lined up 2 prominent Masonic speakers that we just love. We've seen them personally speak in person and know how good they are. So excited to have those brothers come and talk. We'll be talking. The format's a little different than we've seen in the past. Speaker will speak. There'll be questions and answers. And then Fred and Chris will get to sit down with the speaker in front of everybody and we'll do a short interview with them.
We're going to put them in the middle, and Chris will be on one side. I'll be on the other side.
It'll be completely unprepped and unstructured conversation with the speaker. We don't know what's going to happen. And then at the end of the day, we will have a round table with us and all the speakers, and that's for everybody present to participate.
Yes.
Everyone, we hope, will participate in that round table discussion at the end of the night. We're working on food, potentially drink tickets for the people that come. We'll have an after party. this is going to be the happening event.
Yeah, and if you don't know, the Sarasota Sahib Shrine, they have a gigantic tiki hut, bar, restaurant, tiki hut out front. It's wonderful. And Tommy, shout out to Tommy down there, has done an amazing job. And to potentate Paul Beckenhouse.
Yes, doing
a fantastic job down there. So just that alone is going to make it worthwhile. There will be libations. There'll be food. We're not exactly sure how it's going. We have a couple of keynote speakers that we're working with right now. Hopefully, the one we really, really want will say yes.
Yes.
We can't tell you who that is right now, but we will once we have it confirmed. But please plan on attending. It's the first or second week in January, I think, is what we're thinking.
I think it's the second Saturday in January.
We think it's the second. Check your calendar right now. Stop, pull over.
All right.
Check your calendars right now, and try to make sure you can make that. It's at the Sarasota Sahib Shrine. That's on Beneva Boulevard in Sarasota.
January 13th.
January 13th. There you go.
From 9 a.m. to 6 p.m.
9 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Lots of breaks, long lunch.
Yeah, right.
It's not like you're going to get overstimulated.
This is not a seminar. This is a symposium. This is a great day of food, fun, libation, and some great Masonic teaching, man. You're really, really going to... And a vision for the future of Florida, hopefully. A vision for the future of Florida Masonry is what we're really hoping for. Can't really announce that
from
part
a man
yet.
who might be shaping that future for us.
That's enough. All right, stop right there.
Okay, but everybody says they want Masonic education. Well, let's see. Let's see if you really want Masonic education, because we will make it available to you.
Yeah, and the cost, we're going to keep the cost down as low as we can get it. We want as many people coming.
No, we want to just cover the cost of the event and get you guys here.
Yes, that's it. And the goal is, if this one's successful, and that depends on you guys listening, then we want to do one every quarter.
Yeah.
Going
maybe
forward.
in different areas of the state.
Different areas, different districts. If you guys...
maybe in other states. Maybe in other countries.
Hey.
Depends on who's listening and what
Ireland would be great. If you're listening in Ireland, we'd love to come.
Top of the morning until you want some Masonic education, do you?
If I don't get my wife to Ireland soon, she's probably going to kill me in my sleep. So...
whoa. All right. Well, keep a 4-leaf clover under your pillow.
And on that note... oh, I hear the music. Brother, every time we do this, man, I'm just reminded. I know I say this all the time. You guys are probably sick of hearing it, but every time we do this, I'm just reminded of how much I love it.
Yeah.
And this is going. We mark our words, guys. This will be next level. This coming year, 2024 is going to be the year. If Chris and Fred have anything to say about it, it's going to be the year for On the Level with Fred and Chris. I can guarantee you that. Chris, you got anything on our way out?
We got some big things planned for the future. Look for technologies coming. Look for tools, useful items that will be available to you so that you can do what we're doing. And look to be able to meet us in person, because we're going to be out there.
We're going to be out there, man.
We want to meet you
in full glory. We'll be out there. And again, if you've listened to the podcast to the very end, you are our heroes, man. You're what make this show work. Any questions, comments, anything, please just email us, Fred or Chris, at onthelevelwithfredandchris.com, and I will see you next time.
Mm-mm-mm-mm.